A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jam 316. It's Friday morning, and every Friday we come up with Lifestyle Friday, talking about different issues that have to do with life and how we live our lives, and just getting to hear stories from people and how they're living their life. Today we look at something very interesting. It is one of those things that's hard to pronounce. We're going to be talking about gastrointestinal disorders, whatever that is. You'll get to find out shortly. Today I'm joined by two wonderful people. I have Dr. Washeke, who's a gastroenterologist. I have to pause. Dr. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate your company. I also have a nutritionist. This is Henry Ngethe. Henry, how are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Good to have you in this discussion. Maybe, Dr. we could begin with you. Tell us what gastrointestinal disorders are. Sounds such a big name.
Yeah, it's a big name because it has a big purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But the gastrointestinal system is the same as the digestive system. Remember, in science, we learned about the digestive system. So it's just a long word for the same thing.
Okay.
And the system starts from the mouth, where you enjoy food. Then the food goes down, it's absorbed and digested, and finally the waste comes out.
Okay.
We also have some auxiliary organs like the liver, the pancreas, and the bile ducts that help the digestive system to do its work.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the common issues and common problems people have with their digestive systems?
So you'd probably look at it in terms of age groups, because what children have commonly is different from what adults would have commonly. Children would start with the really tiny ones. You've heard of conditions like colic.
Yes.
Many mothers have problems. Mothers and fathers will have sleepless nights because of colic. Later on, you can get maybe conditions like constipation or diarrhea and vomiting. Later on, as they grow up, you can get other conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, where we really don't know what's causing the problem, but there are symptoms there. And later on in life, adults can get lactose intolerance, they're not able to handle milk, and later on even constipation as the system kind of slows down.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So when such issues begin to occur, we live in an age where a lot of us depend on Dr. Google. People like to Google symptoms for themselves, but what are some of the symptoms that should make somebody get to a place where they're thinking, I need to seek medical help for this?
Okay. So again, if we look at it in terms of age groups, for the young infant, if the baby is not gaining weight, you need to seek help. If the baby is inconsolable, it's inconsolable. Yeah. So they just keep crying, even if they're held by the parents, they won't stop crying. That is not normal. And you need to ask yourself why. If they are vomiting, they will not keep anything down. Again, you need to seek help. And if you see blood from any of the openings, either from the mouth or from down, you need to seek help. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say have a low threshold to seek help. It's always better to be told, don't need to worry, than to be told, why did you come so late?
Are there particular lifestyles that we live that can enhance some of these issues?
Yeah, definitely. Lifestyle is a big issue. Food is a big issue. Nutrition and health go hand in hand. So if you look at the newborn baby again, the best you can give that baby is breastfeeding.
Yes.
Because it has so many benefits, including taking care of their health, they get immunity, they grow well. So yes, so please choose breastfeeding. Whenever you have an option, choose breastfeeding. Yeah. Then later on, as we start to introduce food, the weaning period and the complementary feeding period, you need some education.
Okay.
And then you also need some resources so that you're able to give this child what is best for that child. Yeah, there are some myths around complementary feeding. Mtoto anapewa supu ya nyama.
Yes.
Yeah, so those days, that is not correct. That is not correct. We want the child to eat the actual protein, not just supu ya nyama. So yes, there's a lot that can be done. And even in terms of later on choosing food that is wholesome food. food that has high in fiber, high in nourishments, as opposed to the complex carbohydrates and fatty foods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Henry, you can come in at this point because you are a nutritionist. We are living in a fast-paced world today, and a lot of us run for what is readily available, which is what we call junk food. How does this affect our digestive system?
Okay. So generally, when an infant is born, that infant is supposed to be given breast milk alone. That is for the first 6 months of life. Then from there, at the start of the 7th month, what we call as the 181st day of life, they are supposed to be started on complementary feeding, and Dr. has touched on it. And some of these fast foods, when they are consumed, because we have some other groups, that is some other mothers who might decide that they would want to give these infants the fast foods. Fast foods inhibit the growth of the normal microorganisms that are supposed to be in the intestines.
Okay.
And this causes a differential in terms of the microorganisms which are beneficial and some of the microorganisms which are harmful. And this causes malabsorption of certain micronutrients. Because when you have these good microbiota or good microorganisms in the stomach, it simply means that you are able to absorb some of the vitamins that are essential for the immune system. For example, vitamin A, iron, and some of these microorganisms in the large intestines. They help in the breakdown of some of the complex sugars that our bodies cannot be able to break them down.
Okay.
These sugars, when they are broken down, and some of these substrates, when they are broken down, they help in production of some of the other vitamins. For example, vitamin B12. That is the function of the microorganisms. So if you give some of these fast foods, they inhibit all that, which now means that the immune system of this infant will be inhibited to some percent. And you find that these infants will be brought to the hospital because they will have recurrent infections, which now needs to be addressed from the aspect of good nutrition.
Okay. Okay. Both of you have mentioned immunity, and immunity is one thing that we've heard a lot about, especially in this season that we are going through with the COVID-19 pandemic. So how does the digestive system and immunity, how are they connected?
The digestive system is, for a long, long time, we've never thought that the immune system comes from the gut or the gastrointestinal system. And research has found that the microorganisms in the stomach or in the intestines, they help in absorption of some of the vitamins which are very essential in the immune system. For example, vitamin A. Vitamin A helps in the immune system, and the microorganisms in the intestines helps in breakdown and absorption of vitamin A. Same case with iron, which now 70% of the iron in the human system is found in the areas around the blood.
Okay.
And these play an integral role in the immune system and in transport of everything in this, through the blood. So it is very, very essential to know that the gut should be healthy. And if the gut is healthy, then it means that the absorption of some of these microorganisms will be inhibited by consuming some of the things that might not be essential. And therefore, ensuring that you consume the amounts of, for example, vitamin A that is essential. And you'll find that even the government gives vitamin A in different periods. For example, from 6 months, 12 months, from there, the period of every 6 months. The reason why we give vitamin A is simply because we would want to boost the immunity, because the body of an infant up to 5 years cannot solely depend on their system. Therefore, there is a very important part with ensuring that the same vitamin A that is provided in food and supplemented vitamin A is absorbed to 100%. And that can only be done by the microorganisms that are found in the stomach.
Okay.
Same case with iron.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. I'm just wondering, because of the season that we are in, life has changed from what we usually know life to be. People are working from home. Our children are stuck in our homes the whole day, whether they are doing online classes or not. We mostly are keeping them in the house. And I'm just wondering, does the change of lifestyle, could it affect our digestive system? Because it's not something we are really thinking about a lot.
Okay.
Could there be effects?
Yeah. Definitely there are effects, and effects are on sides. So if you look at malnutrition
Yeah.
and food security, the fact that we are at home, there are many people who are challenged by just providing a meal
Very
on the
true.
table. Yeah. And this is a meal that is to go to a growing child, to a pregnant woman, to a breastfeeding woman. And so we are at risk of malnutrition, and malnutrition now just it can lead to low immunity. It puts you at risk of infections. So that's probably the biggest risk that we are facing right now. But unfortunately, there's another spectrum. And this is another spectrum of overnutrition.
Oh, yes. Let's go there. Let's go there.
Yeah, because people are at home.
Yeah.
And they say the fridge is wondering, why are you always here,
Yes.
So that's another risk that is there. There's a risk of overnutrition, where you pick anything, anytime. And to those who are at risk of that, I would say, keep to your regular feeding times. Ideally, that should be 3 meals with 2 snacks. Yeah. Avoid complex foods, and still take a lot of water, a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, and go out and exercise if you can. If you can't exercise within the house, the risk that is there could be constipation, because of what you're choosing to eat.
Yeah.
That risk is definitely there. Now, to the issue of malnutrition, the pregnant woman has needs, and because the growing child has needs, and so does that newborn infant. We talked about weaning earlier, and now the parents and the siblings cannot come to advise this couple on how to wean a child.
Yeah.
So they're left to their own devices,
Okay.
and Google and Dr. Google.
Yes.
So that is a risk. Yeah. And I would say to that, try and reach out to your healthcare provider, whether it's the nutritionist, talk to them, have a conversation. Even if you're not able to go to the hospital, have a discussion around what foods you should start the child on.
You've mentioned 2 things I was going to ask you about. The first one is water and its role in having a healthy digestive system, and the other one is the exercise bit, because I've realized, even in my neighborhood, I've realized a lot more people are exercising in this season than before, and I was wondering, does that also have a role to do with having a good digestive system?
Okay, so if we look at water is essential. In fact, we introduce water when we introduce food. So when the baby is breastfeeding up to 6 months, they don't necessarily have to take water, because most of the breast milk, 80% of it is actually made from water.
Okay.
It's water. But once you start other foods, you need water. And water helps you with the digestion, as well as elimination of the food from the stomach. The people who take very small amounts of water suffer from constipation. Yeah. So, and that is titrated. A liter of water may be okay for you, but not okay for me. So you have to see what works for you. It's not like one size fits all.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you talked about, sorry, I've forgotten your second question.
Exercise.
Yes. I think if, in my neighborhood as well, there are more people who are exercising. So I think in our minds, we know exercise is good, but when we are very busy, we don't get time to do it. So maybe with people at home, they are more aware of the need to go out and to exercise.
Yeah.
But what exercise does, in terms of the gut, the gut has what is called a brain.
Yes.
Yeah? When you get a gut feeling,
yes.
right? There's a brain in the gut.
Yes.
So the gut can produce feel-good hormones like serotonin, and so those hormones then elevate you, and even they improve the digestion, they improve the immunity, they improve your well-being.
Yeah.
And so they also put you at less risk of infections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And less risk of mental illnesses like depression, which then can turn around and also affect the stomach. So they are all interconnected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about constipation, because I think that's one of the common issues that quite a number of people have. What brings about constipation, and what would be considered good bowel movement? And then after you're done with that, maybe Henry can tell us if there are particular foods that support good bowel movement.
Okay. So I hope we are not airing during breakfast time or lunchtime. But here we go.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So I'm a pediatrician. So I'll start by defining constipation in the child.
Yeah.
And constipation would be a deviation from your normal bowel motion, whatever that is. However, would say at least you should be having a bowel motion per day, once per day.
Once per day, okay.
But some people would skip one day and still be okay. So apart from just the frequency, what else do you want to look out for? You want to look out for hard stool, meaning stool that is painful to pass out. Or sometimes the feeling of when you go to the toilet, you feel like you want to go, but you push and nothing comes out because it's too bulky and it cannot come out. In little children, in smaller children, you'll find them having behaviors that are a bit odd. Like they go to a corner and they kind of want to hold the stool back in, and then they come back because they have now started to associate passage of stool with pain.
With pain, okay.
And they don't want to feel pain.
Okay.
So they just hope that if they hold it long enough, it will go away and that problem is over.
Yes.
So we call that withholding behavior. Unfortunately, sometimes it gets worse and you start finding blood in stool because now they have cuts around the anus as they're getting the stool out. It's very common. What causes it? There are a number of things that could cause it. Commonly, it's diet related. So not enough fiber in the diet.
Okay.
Fruits, vegetables, and water. So when we talk about fruit and you're giving fruit to a little child, it needs to be fruit with fiber. So when you squeeze orange and give them the juice, that is just juice. Yeah, you've not given them fiber.
Yes.
Yeah, the fiber needs to be in there. And also sometimes you'll find parents will blend and then sieve all the fiber
out,
and leave it on a sieve. So then again, you've denied them that fiber. The fiber needs to be there. If you look at vegetables, you need to have the vegetables in your diet. And unfortunately, our diets, a lot of times, the vegetables are more decorative.
Oh, yes.
The small decoration on the side there.
To add a bit of color.
Yeah, just to add some color.
Yes.
So it needs to be more. So apart from diet habits, toilet habits as well. So don't force children to toilet train. If they're not ready, let them wait until when they're ready.
Yeah.
And you know they're ready when they start being conscious of having stool on themselves.
Okay.
So forced toilet training can cause them to withhold, like they're withholding a present from you, you know? So they withhold, yes. And then also when they go to school and maybe the school toilets are not clean, again, they hold the whole day.
Very true.
And they only want to go to toilet when they go back home. Or sometimes even the system in terms of the timetable, it can be so tight, the kids don't get enough time to go to the loo.
Yeah.
So toilet habits, dietary, and some conditions, some medical conditions like food allergy can cause constipation. Yeah, maybe conditions like low thyroxine hormone can also cause constipation.
Okay. Henry, anything you want to add in relation to just nutrition and constipation?
Yes, I'll just do a small addition.
Yeah.
When it comes to water consumption, we always say that for a normal adult, you should consume at least 8 glasses of water.
Yeah.
Distributed within the 24 hours. Not that you get water and you consume all the 24 hours.
Yes.
You get the water, you distribute it evenly with your food for 24 hours or when you'll be awake. And when it comes to fruits and vegetables, you ensure at least you take 3 meals, and in each and every 3 meals there should be adequate vegetables and fruits.
Yeah.
That is the 3 meals. And in the breakfast, there should be something that will provide dietary fiber, as Daktari has said.
Yeah.
And this dietary fiber could be soluble or insoluble. There is this insoluble fiber, what Daktari has said, that you sieve the water and you leave the other part. The other part is the insoluble fiber, which is very, very important. Remember that constipation causes so many other conditions.
Oh.
And can also be harmful in terms of the killing of the microbiota. If you don't consume the same, it will also affect the balance of the microbiota in the stomach and in the intestines rather. Therefore, it is important to ensure that all those are included. More so to the infants, to the infants which are being introduced to complementary feeding.
Yes.
It is very important to ensure that that is done, because constipation also occurs during the introduction of some of these meals.
Someone once told me, either of you can answer this question. Someone once told me that when you don't have regular meals, when you don't have 3 meals a day, you keep skipping your meals haphazardly, that it has an effect on your digestive system. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. What happens when you miss meals? The body will go into a status whereby it will want to convert whatever is in your muscles or glycogen to become energy, because your body requires energy.
Yes.
And now what will happen generally is that whenever you take more feeds, whenever you will take the next meal, your body will want to compensate for the meals that you did not take at a particular time. And that's training. One, it has an advantage in terms of it boosts the immunity. Studies have shown that. But on the other side, you prone yourself to some of the non-communicable diseases, for example, diabetes, some types of cancers. Remember that there are some micronutrients which must be provided to your body every day. And they are essential for the normal functioning of your system. So if you do not provide the same, you get into what we call as the hidden hunger. That is, you have what we call as a deficiency. You will have a deficiency of micronutrients, which will never show. They never show. For example, if you do not have enough selenium, enough zinc, it will not show out of skipping them. What will come is that you will get diabetes. For example, if you have insufficient selenium, if you have insufficient zinc, in terms of erectile dysfunction as a man, you will get it. You will be unable to conceive. You will not tie it to some of these micronutrients. So if skip meals, there is so much negativity that happens in your system, even though it will not show. But then a condition comes in, some types of cancers that will come in, and then you will not be able to associate it. For example, we have guys who are struggling with alcoholism, and that could be as a result of zinc deficiency.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
If you have insufficient zinc in your system, it will lead to alcoholism. And then we start managing it into some other level, forgetting that we need to focus on the issues of zinc. Your immunity, zinc is very important in terms of the same. So you will get frequent infections, and then you can now tie it to micronutrients. It means that if you skip meals, there is so much negativity that happens to our system. But it's very rare to then tie it to skipping the meals. There are people who are doing that. The issues of starving. They say that they don't want to feed for some time, but fasting, try fasting, and there is so much negativity. You cannot get enough iron. Iron must be provided every day in small amounts from the diet. We have menstruating women who require iron in a higher amount than the men. We have children, they require higher iron than us because there is growth and development in their systems, unlike the adults. Therefore, it is important to know that you don't require to skip the meals. You actually need to know the amount of meals that you need to take, not in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality of the meals that you take.
Okay. Dr. Let's talk a bit about metabolism. I have an older brother, and my older brother, if you see us eating, you would wonder, the food is supposed to be exchanged, because on his plate you will have a pile, and mine will be so little. In fact, sometimes when I'm somewhere with my wife eating, she says, "You're embarrassing me. People think I finished food for you." But I keep wondering what affects metabolism, because my brother burns everything. I seem like I retain everything.
Okay, so it starts much earlier. We take you back to childhood, and sometimes even to pregnancy. And so the way a baby is born, the genetic makeup affects metabolism. But also there's what we call epigenetics. Epigenetics is environment around which a baby is born into, and that can affect the genes and the genetic and what the metabolism later.
Okay.
So I take an example of a preterm baby. Maybe a preterm baby is born, is small at that time because of the weight, and now they start being fed. So before we'd have what was called catch-up growth. This baby is smaller than usual, so let us give them a lot of food so that they catch up with their other babies.
Yeah.
And so they would even get a formula that had more protein. But in that, what you're teaching the body is to store.
Ooh.
And the baby starts to store. And indeed, the baby will gain weight and catch up. But the body does not realize that now we can stop storing. We can now start going back to normal metabolism. The body continues to store. So you find preterm babies are actually at a higher risk of obesity later in life. So it's the same, it's the epigenetics. Again, if a patient, now I'm hospital based.
Yes.
So if somebody is in their younger age, they are eating more of foods that encourage the body to store. They keep storing. Even later in life, when now they change and they're eating differently, the body is the genes are conditioned to store.
Yeah.
And so they store. But the same thing is, the converse is also true. If you're eating the foods that we are calling healthy foods, and the body is learning to use up the metabolism and not store, later on in life, it continues to serve you. So even if you're eating more, the body the metabolism now takes over. Things like exercises will also come in play, because that increases your metabolism.
Okay.
But it's also quite individual. It's not just genes. There's an individual aspect there as well.
Okay. What do we need to do or to know in terms of having and maintaining a healthy digestive system?
Okay. I would say moderation. So I agree with the comments about long periods of not eating, because again, you send the body into that starvation mode, and so the body burns what it can from your fat, and unfortunately it doesn't just choose fat, it also chooses muscle.
Yes.
So it can pick a bit from fat, it can pick some from muscle. So be moderate about it. But remember that you when you serve, when you're very hungry and you go and serve, you can feel like I need to eat a lot. But when you start eating, you realize you get full earlier than you thought you'd get full. So if you can pace yourself, because sometimes you can overeat, and then later on is when your brain tells you, by the way, you have overeaten. So pace yourself so that you eat smaller amounts and you don't get to that point of overeating. And then have enough of the fruits and vegetables in the diet. I can't overemphasize that fact.
Okay.
Because those are easier to metabolize, and yet they are filling. And then eat at times when have a healthy breakfast, have something for lunch, and go small for dinner, because now you're preparing to sleep.
Okay.
For the children, I would say, as much as possible, keep a balanced diet and avoid the junk. It doesn't help. It provides glucose for a very short period of time, but after that they feel completely empty. And how you train them is how they'll continue eating even into their adulthood. So you're really setting the stage for them, even for later in life.
Okay. Henry, anything to add to when it comes to our nutrition and having and maintaining a healthy digestive system?
Yes, I will just do a small addition. You see, there is a condition called environmental enteric dysfunction that comes out of the environment, and Dr. has talked a bit on it. And this is one of the things that studies have really focused on, and they have shown that we have a problem we might be having problems with our intestine, or some of the people might be having the same, and that is why we are struggling with the issues of stunting. That is low age for height, and you find that there are people who will feed, but then they don't add the weight. You give them the quality food that you want, and then they do not add on the weight because they have reduced absorptive capacity, and they have reduced gut barriers. It means that whenever they feed on something, for example, if they are supposed to absorb 100%, they still absorb less than 20%.
Oh.
And yes. And this can be addressed if, for example, there are tests that are run, and then we understand that this is what is causing this, so that we are able to address it from the issues of diet. And then we formulate a diet that will help in addressing some of these problems. And that is, this could be one of the reasons why we are still having so many other cases of underweight in children who are not adding weight. You give them formulas, they don't add weight. You give them supplements, they don't add weight. So until we are able to address and understand these are some of the causes, then we cannot have to address this issue in totality. We must address it from that.
Okay. Daktari, there are times where you go someone goes through a season where you feel like even if you take a little food, you feel like you're so full. Unasikia tu umeshiba. You know, it's like you're full to the neck. What brings about that, and what can one do about that?
Okay, so that's a really good question, and part of the problem could be maybe you're having excess acid production in your stomach, and so that creates a feeling of bloatedness and a feeling of nausea and discomfort. It could be constipation, meaning that the colon is actually backed up.
Ooh.
And and so you don't, there's not much space, you know, and you just take very small amounts and already you feel you can't handle it. But there could also be some malabsorption. You're not able to handle the food that you're eating. For example, if I take wheat as an example, wheat can cause indigestion, especially taken in large amounts and if taken raw. So if you raw, you know, like if you're having a pizza and there's some unga just hanging around there, you know, so that is raw wheat. And those foods have a lot of what you call phytates, and those foods are they make it hard for that food to be absorbed, digested and absorbed. So it can just really sit in the stomach. And so such foods need to be taken in moderate amounts and spaced out. But if you look at our diet again, what is breakfast? Almost always is some wheat in the breakfast.
Very true.
So those foods can make you feel uncomfortable, as well as the other conditions we've talked about.
Okay. I've heard this before. I don't know how true it is. Maybe you can confirm it or bust this myth that sometimes we have people when they pass stool, they don't pass everything, you know, and so eventually you have this backlog that keeps building up. I've heard of what is it called? Colon hydrotherapy, where you go and you get yourself washed and all these bad things are removed. Is that a thing?
Okay, not the colon hydrotherapy, but in terms of passing stool and not completely evacuating, it's true.
Okay.
It is true. Yeah, it can happen, especially with young kids. You know, they're in such a hurry to go back and play. They just remove the one that must come out, and then everything else stays inside. And so with time, they get backed up. And again, you look at the school environment, if they don't have enough time to go to the loo, you know, they just get out what must, but backup can happen. So what happens when we have that, we call it a fecal impaction, meaning you're not able to pass stool. We can do an enema to start the process of getting the stool to come out. Then we can administer some medications through the mouth that help you to go clearing out.
Okay.
So that takes care of the problem at that time. But then we have to now address the issues of diet so that we don't end up in the same position again. Okay. However, there's caution about colon cleansing. Where you're washing out the gut. Because as Henry has been talking about, there's a very active environment of microorganisms in the stomach and in the colon. And when you wash out, sometimes you affect that equilibrium. And so you can end up with problems because now you've washed out that equilibrium. Even medications like antibiotics again affect that equilibrium and can give you problems. So that the washout would need to be done in a hospital setting and for a period of time, and then you stop that and do the more natural way of just taking your water regularly, so that you don't have to go into that extreme of a washout, because it comes with its effects as well.
Okay. Henry, is there a lot of people are big on detoxing, detoxing the body and cleansing the body and all that. I'm just wondering, where the digestive system is concerned and nutrition, are there particular foods that you can eat to kind of cleanse your digestive system and to detox?
The most interesting thing is that the way God created us, He created us with a system that detoxifies itself. So there is no need. All that you need to do is take adequate water. Ensure that you're taking your foods, you clean them nicely, so that then you do not get those chemicals into your system.
Yes.
What I mean is that, for example, there are people who will simply take vegetables from a mamboga and they don't wash them again because they've been cut into small pieces.
Yes.
Yes, it's very, very important to know that you need to wash your vegetables. You need to observe the basics of hygiene when it comes to food preparation and consuming of food. Therefore, it is very, very important to ensure that that is done, and two, to ensure that you consume the amounts of water which are essential. That is 8 glasses of water. And if you're taking any other drug or any other medication, then you need to take 10 glasses of water per day. And the other thing you need to do is to ensure that if, for example, you've taken some antibiotics, you need to take some other probiotics and supplements which contain probiotics and prebiotics, so that you take back the microorganisms that were destroyed, as Dr. has said, when you take antibiotics. You can also consume foods that contain these bacteria. For example, we have the fermented foods. There are so many other types: fermented porridge and fermented milk, and all these we reintroduce back the microorganisms which are essential. Therefore, this is very, very important.
Okay. I can see we are almost running out of time. So, Dr. what would your parting shot be to our audience this morning?
So I think I would say let's remember those who are having issues with food security at this particular time. And if you can lend a hand, please do. It would go a long way. Then I would say, please keep in touch with your healthcare providers.
Yes.
If you run into trouble, talk to your doctors, talk to your nutritionist, talk to the nurse. If you cannot physically go, have a conversation. Do not keep quiet as you just wait to observe. You know, you can run into trouble. And then let's practice healthy eating habits at home. And go out and exercise.
Yes.
Yeah, let's keep hope alive. Yes.
Awesome.
We shall overcome. Yes.
Asante sana, Dr. Henry, parting shot?
Yeah.
What I would say is that it is very, very important to ensure that we consume good foods that are essential for our immune system, ensure that our gut is healthy, ensure that we consume foods that will ensure that our gut is very, very healthy. And two, we should always ensure that we give our infants nutritious and balanced diet for normal status of the immune system and the health system, so that then we are able to live healthy and we are able to take care of our generation. Remember, nutrition is the future of our generations, and good investment in nutrition, it means that we are going to have productive nation in the next few years.
Wow. Dr. Washeke and Bwana Henry, asanteni sana. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us this morning. That is valuable information and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.